Good night. Hey, V, look at this mess. What kind of nut writes to a newspaper columnist for advice anyway? Right there. And you. Because you need someone to listen to your side of the story. Someone who won't yell at you or tell you you're lying or crazy. And so often you write, I have nowhere else to turn. Do I dump the bum? Should I drag him to AA? How do I handle a boy who wants to go all the way? I'm a lousy husband. I don't like my stepdaughter. Or worse, I'm a lousy husband. I'm in love with my stepdaughter. All the problems and questions of life. And death, too. Listen to this. Dear Landers, I am a devout Christian with several gold crowns on my teeth. When I am dead, I would like to will the gold to my sister, who could really use the money. But do you know if after the resurrection, it will be possible for me to have new crowns put in? I did not. And trust me, if his dentist is Jewish, he's not taking appointments for after the resurrection. Listen. Toilet paper. My God, especially toilet paper. This just boggles the mind. I very nearly didn't print this because I thought it was so inconsequential. Dear Ann Landers, while I was visiting family back in Sioux City, I brought up the subject of how they all needed to reverse their paper towels and toilet paper on the spools since they were placed incorrectly. The paper should be coming from the wall up toward the top, over and out. They all disagreed. Please settle this for us. Signed, Paper Crazy. Now, first of all, you come into my home as a guest, relative or not, and tell me how to hang my toilet paper? Bub, the elevator going down's got your name on it. But be that as it may, I wrote Paper Crazy and said there was no right or wrong way to hang it, but that my preference is the same as his relatives, back against the wall. And that's how 60 million people found out how Ann Landers hangs her toilet paper. 15,000 letters came in. 15,000 letters about toilet paper. It just boggles the mind. With all the important issues that divide our country, war, morality, abortion, guns, nuclear proliferation. Apparently, this is one of the most polarizing issues of the day. Well, let's see if it's still true. Who thinks it should hang down in bed against the wall? How many of you? Now, I'm not asking how it's hung in your house. I'm asking how you think it should be hung. Who's for back against the wall? How many of you think it should go the other way? Come up from behind and hang down in front. All right. Well, let's see how many of you live in a household where there's disagreement on the issue of tissue. Disagreement out there? And who's ever gone into someone else's bathroom, taken the roll off the wall and switched it around? Now, about where the seat should be left up or down. No, I've got work to do. Besides, the answer to that one's non-negotiable, right, ladies? You know, I'd rather have my column on 1,000 refrigerator doors than win a Pulitzer Prize. And I have a column to finish tonight. This is just today's mail. I guess, pretty good at this by now. There's about 900 letters here. I could call the book, My Mailman Has a Hernia. Every one of these with a return address will get a response. Every single one. My 30th anniversary letter. Shall I put it in the book? "30 years with this unselfish, supportive, responsive man has enabled me to live life as few people get the opportunity to live. Being Ann Lander's husband could pose a terrible problem, but Jules has met the challenge with dignity and incredible good humor. My husband is my best friend, and I am his. I consider it a privilege to be the wife of this beautiful guy who took on the world with a 9th grade education and a hole in his sock." So what the hell happened? How did my wonderful husband of nearly 36 years suddenly fall in love with a woman younger than his daughter? And now, how do I find the words to tell you in this column that my marriage is ending? Me, the advice columnist who for 20 years told you marriage is forever. I've been so anti-divorce, my dateline could be Vatican City. This one, I read it in today's batch. It's going in the column and the book. Honestly, out of the mouths of babes. Ann Landers. We are not calling you dear Ann Landers because we don't think you are dear. We think you are just rotten. This letter is being written by 3 12-year-old women who will never read your crummy column again as long as we live. Don't you know that some 13-year-old girls are very mature? Oh, I'm hip to what goes on. A quarter of my mail comes from teenagers. Take a guy, a girl, a parked car, a full moon, and a pint of bourbon that just happens to be in the glove box. And it's, "Dear Ann Landers, help, I'm pregnant." Or, "Are these the symptoms of venereal disease?" Of course, teenagers will experiment. Necking, petting, making out. I did. Back when the Earth's crust cooled. You did too. Oh, yes, you did. It's inevitable. It's fun. It's healthy. It's a part of growing up. But high schoolers should not be having intercourse. Now, between high school and the altar, well, I used to think that every bride should be a virgin. A lemon squeezed too many times. But since the advent of the pill, that battle's a loser. Thank God I was a teenager during the Depression. No, really. We didn't have the pill. And none of the boys could afford cars. So more of us gals were virgins until our wedding night. At least I think most of us were. Well, let's take a poll, shall we? How many of you were virgins on second thought, I don't need to take that poll. My mailbag is a running poll on that question. And I've changed with the times on it. And on so many other topics. Women's roles, abortion rights, divorce.